Washington State, the national parks route nobody drives. On a map, Washington State contains 3 national parks within a single state, separated by what looks like manageable distance: Olympic, Rainier, North Cascades. In reality, they might as well be on different continents. Most visitors never drive them as a single journey because doing so reveals something the map hides. These parks are not variations of the same landscape. They are 3 completely different geological systems that happen to share a state boundary. The road connects them. The land does not. This is the story of what you miss when you follow the map instead of the terrain. Olympic, the park that refuses to be one thing. Olympic National Park occupies 922,000 acres. It is defined not by continuity, but by fracture. The Hoh Rainforest receives 140 inches of annual precipitation, more than most coastal cities receive in an entire year. Sitka spruce and western hemlock create a ceiling so dense that direct sunlight reaches the forest floor in patches. The air is saturated. Visibility at eye level never exceeds 20 yards. At elevations above 4,000 feet, this ends. The mountains create a different world: subalpine meadows, exposed ridgelines, and snow that persists through July. Temperature drops roughly 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit per 1,000 feet of elevation gain. At the summit of Mount Olympus, 7,965 feet, the environment is alpine desert, sparse vegetation, extreme exposure. The coast introduces a third system. Rialto Beach, Cape Flattery, and the sea stacks pillars of rock rising up to 200 feet from the water exist in a zone of constant erosion. The Pacific removes what the mountains make. Tides, waves, and storm surge reshape the coastline continuously. What you see today will not be there in 5 years. These 3 ecosystems do not transition. They collide. You move from rainforest to exposed ridge to rocky shore without intermediate zones. The problem between parks. Leaving Olympic, you face a fundamental problem. There is no direct route to the next park. The Olympic Peninsula forces circumnavigation. To reach Mount Rainier from Olympic requires driving east around the Puget Sound approximately 150 miles, 3 hours minimum, through developed areas, towns, and landscape that bears no relation to either park. The map suggests connection. The road network suggests a loop. The actual geography suggests you have left one world and must rejoin civilization before entering the next one. Mount Rainier, the mountain that organizes everything. Mount Rainier is a stratovolcano rising 14,108 feet above sea level. Unlike Olympic's divided ecosystems, Rainier creates order through dominance. Every feature forests, meadows, glaciers, weather patterns orients toward the mountain. 25 named glaciers cover approximately 35 square miles of its slopes. Emmons Glacier, the largest, extends from 14,000 feet to 9,500 feet in vertical plunge. Crevasses exceed 100 feet deep in places. The summit remains inaccessible to casual visitors not because of regulation, but because reaching it requires ice climbing equipment. Altitude acclimatization atmospheric oxygen is 40% lower than sea level, an acceptance of genuine risk. Wildflower meadows carpet the mid-elevations between 5,000 and 7,000 feet only because specific conditions align here: snowmelt in July, brief growing season, soil chemistry. Shift the elevation by 500 feet, and the meadows end. This is not an arbitrary park feature. It is the intersection of geology, hydrology, and time. The mountain's dominance creates a specific experience. You are not moving through multiple environments. You are circling a single object and understanding it from different angles. North Cascades, the system that resists understanding. The North Cascades National Park spans 504,781 acres of terrain that does not simplify. Unlike Rainier's single dominant peak, the North Cascades contain a fragmented mountain system. Over 300 glaciers, 10,000-foot peaks densely packed across rugged terrain, and elevation gains that create weather systems independent of surrounding lowlands. The North Cascades Highway enters the park but does not penetrate it. From the road, you see the western edge. The majority of the park lies beyond immediate access. Interior valleys, unnamed lakes, and ridge systems remain invisible from the highway, not because they are far away, but because the terrain is so complex that it obscures itself. Standing at a roadside overlook, you see dramatic peaks, hanging glaciers, and avalanche paths. But the scale remains compressed. What appears to be a single mountain system is actually a network of systems separated by deep valleys, each with its own climate, hydrology, and ecology. Understanding the park requires moving into it, which the road does not allow for most visitors. Why this route exists, and why almost no one drives it. On a map, Olympic, Rainier, and North Cascades form a triangle. The distance between them is small. The road network appears continuous. In reality, the route works against itself. To drive it, you must exit protected landscape, cross developed zones, and re-enter wilderness 3 times. Each transition breaks momentum. Each drive between parks moves through terrain that bears no relation to the parks themselves. Worse, each park requires a different mode of understanding. Olympic demands you move through narrow canyon walls and dense forest. Rainier demands you orbit a single object. Olympic receives 3 million visitors annually. Most never leave the main valleys. Mount Rainier receives 2.5 million visitors annually. Most never leave the main roads. North Cascades receives fewer than 1 million visitors annually, approximately 0.4% of all U.S. national park visitors. The parks are not undiscovered. They are underseen. What visitors photograph, Myrtle Falls at Rainier, the Hoh Valley at Olympic, Highway 20 overlooks at North Cascades, represents roughly 3% of the landscape they each protect. The remaining 97% operates without an audience. Glaciers advance and retreat unobserved. Avalanche paths reshape terrain unwitnessed. Weather systems form and dissipate with no one watching. Closing. Washington state contains 3 of North America's most significant protected landscapes. On a map, they appear to form a single, coherent route. The road network makes this suggestion plausible. But the land itself contradicts it. Olympic divides into 3 ecosystems that will not blend. Rainier organizes everything around a single volcanic structure. North Cascades fractures into a system too complex to be fully seen from any overlook. The route exists, but continuity does not. What you experience depends entirely on accepting disconnection as the central fact of the journey, not as a problem to be solved. The parks reward that acceptance. Closing CTA. If this changed how you see Washington's national parks, the guide linked in the description goes further. It covers the Hoh Rainforest Day hike logistics, the specific timing that avoids wildflower crowds at Rainier, the North Cascades backcountry routes that reveal the interior complexity, and why experiencing this route out of sequence sometimes works better than the traditional loop. Just click the link below to get started. Washington State, the national